Okay, today we're going to put together a Crockpot mac and cheese and spicy salmon cakes. So the first thing I need you to do is grab your Crockpot and spray it really well with a cooking spray. Because this recipe for the mac and cheese does get kind of messy. And if you don't do this, you'll be spending hours trying to get your Crockpot clean. So once we have it sprayed, we're going to take 8 ounces of elbow macaroni and you're going to pre-cook it, and only for like 5 minutes in the microwave. So what I do is I just stick it in a large microwavable bowl, cover it with water, about 2 to 3 inches of water over it, microwave it for 5 minutes, and then drain it. And then you're going to put that into your crock pot. Then we're going to add 3 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. And now they make this Velveeta shreds, which melts really well, and that's a good one to use. So we're just going to, right on top of the macaroni, just go ahead and put 3 cups of cheese. This is an 8-cup bag, so that's probably about right. Then we're going to put a can of evaporated milk, and make sure, I don't have this open yet because you need to make sure that you shake it really well because all the solids get into the bottom. And if you don't shake it when you pour it out, you're not really getting everything. So shake it up really good. And we're just going to pour that on top of the macaroni and cheese. Then we're going to take that same can for measuring purposes, and we're going to fill it with milk twice. So we're going to put 2 of these cans full of milk in there twice. So we're going to fill it up twice. And again, just pour it right over top of your elbow macaroni and your cheese. Then to that, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter, and you don't need to melt it. Just put it in the center of your crock pot. And a teaspoon of salt. And just sprinkle that around. And then you're going to turn that on high. You can cook it on high for an hour or 2 and then turn it down and leave it on low for an hour. It only takes about 3 hours to cook. What you don't want to do is you don't want to let it cook for 8 hours because it will get all hard around the edges. So this is really not like an all-day cooking recipe. This is something that takes 2 to 3 hours to cook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lid on it and stick it in the fridge, and then 3 hours before we're ready to eat it, I'll just turn the heat up to high for an hour, and then I'll turn it down to low and let it cook. And it is super yummy, super cheesy, really creamy, and it's my kids' favorite macaroni and cheese is the Crock-Pot mac and cheese. You can double it as well if you want to make for a large crowd. You can quadruple it even. So now I'm going to take the same bowl that I had my drained macaroni in, and I'm going to put together my salmon cakes. Now, this does use canned salmon, and a lot of my friends are like, "Ew, gross! We're not going to like that." But you really need to try it because number one, it's very good for you. It has a lot of nutrients in it, and it has a long shelf life, so it's not like something that would go bad. So I'm going to start out with 1 can of pink salmon. Now, when you open this up, there's going to be skin and there's going to be bones. The skin we're going to get rid of just because it's gross. You don't have to get rid of it. You can leave it in. Okay, there's a lot of liquid on top, so we're going to drain the liquid off just into the sink. And then we're going to dump the contents of the can into our bowl. And when it comes out kind of the shape of the can, but you can see where it can just pull apart. And when you pull it apart, that's usually where the skin is, and you can just peel it back with your fingers and just discard it. And again, you don't have to discard it. There's a lot of nutrients in the skin, but if that makes you queasy, or it's unsettling to you, just get rid of it. I get rid of it. If it was just me eating alone, I probably wouldn't get rid of it. But since I have several boys in the house, I just get rid of it. Okay, and then you'll also find occasionally, and I don't know if you can see this, but they're little bones. And those I actually don't get rid of. You can throw those out too, but they're very pliable, very soft. And so I just crush them up with my fingertips and leave them in there because it is a good source of calcium. As gross as that seems, they are not bad for you. And they really are good for you. So just leave it in there. But you can take that out too, and they usually come out in one whole piece, so it's not hard to get rid of them. So just break apart the chunks, and here, now you can see. Let me get that skin off my hand. Now you can see where the bone is. So if you wanted to remove it, it just lifts out just like that. But I'm going to use it because, like I said, it just crushes in your fingers. Crushes right up. All right, so I think I've got all the skin out. I've crushed up all my little tiny pieces of bone. And we are ready to go. I'm going to give my hands another quick wash. Okay, so to the salmon that's out of the can, we are going to add saltine crackers. Do not replace these with breadcrumbs. The saltine crackers are what makes this recipe so good because there is a lot of salt in them. And they just give a really nice consistency and a very good flavor. So what I do is I just take my sleeve of saltines. You could do this in a food processor, but I don't like to mess up a bunch of dishes that I'm going to have to clean later. So I just take it and I just squish it between my hands. Just nice small crumbles. And if I see anything that didn't get squished, just pick it up and make sure that it's nice and small. And this way, when I'm finished, I don't have another bowl that I have to clean. I have enough to do. I don't really want to have to sit. Nobody wants to sit by the sink and do dishes, especially on nice spring days like it is today. Okay, so I'm going to start with about 2/3 of the sleeve. I might end up using the whole sleeve. We're just going to kind of see what the consistency is like, because you want your salmon cakes to hold together when you're frying them in the pan. All right, so I've got all this crackers in there and everything's squished. I don't see any really big pieces, and I'm going to pick this up so you can see it's just the crackers over the salmon. And so we're going to take 1 egg and we're going to crack that and put it in with the crackers and the salmon. And then we're going to take some lemon juice, and if you have fresh lemons, you can put fresh lemon juice, or you can use the bottles just like this. And we're going to put about 1/2 tablespoon of lemon juice. Sprinkle that around. And then we're going to put a teaspoon of garlic salt. Okay. And then we're going to put a sprinkling of cayenne pepper. And that's what gives it the spiciness. It's probably about 1/8 teaspoon. And then you can also add black pepper, but I do that when I'm frying them. And then you're going to add a little bit more salt. If you use garlic powder, you'll want to use more salt. But if you're using garlic salt, then you can cut back on the amount of salt that you put. That was about 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, so I take my ring off, and I'm just going to use my hands and mix all this together. The egg, and the salmon, and the crackers, and the lemon juice, and your seasonings. You can see how that's coming together. If, when you're doing this, you're mixing it together, it seems a little dry, just put a little bit more lemon juice. If it seems a little too wet, then crunch up some more crackers and add to it. It's very simple. It's very hard to mess up. You can also flavor these. You can make Asian salmon cakes by adding teriyaki sauce and ginger. Ginger is a really good spice to put with salmon. You can make Mexican salmon cakes by adding some chipotle chili pepper to it. You also can hide vegetables in dishes like this, like your meatballs, your meatloafs, and your chicken, salmon patties. You can hide vegetables if you have kids who don't really like to eat vegetables. You can hide carrots, just shred some carrots and put in there, which adds a little bit of sweetness. You can hide broccoli, anything like that. I'm just gonna put a little bit more lemon juice because mine needs to be a tiny bit wetter so that it will hold together when I am making it out into little patties and then frying it in the frying pan. So when you get it all incorporated together, what you want to be able to do is just like making out hamburger patties. I've got a plate here. You're just going to pick up a handful like you would make a hamburger patty. And it's done the exact same way. And you just patty them out, make them thin. I like to make them thin because then when you fry them, they're crispy all the way on both sides. And it just makes it really nice. And you can do this ahead of time and just put saran wrap over them, stick them in the fridge, and basically that's it. And you can make them small and thin. You can make them bigger. If you're going to make them too much bigger than what I have here, this one can should make at least 6 or 7 salmon cakes. So you may have to use 2 cans. Somehow my mother, when I was growing up, could feed the 7 of us in our family with 1 can of salmon. I'm still to this day not certain how she did that, but she did it. But if I were going to make salmon cakes for my family of 6, I would use 2 cans of salmon, 2 eggs, an entire sleeve of crackers, and probably a little bit more of another one, and then just up my seasonings. So you're just going to make out your patties, and then you're going to heat up a frying pan, put some olive oil in the pan, or some lemon oil would be really good, lemon infused oil, and then you just fry them up on both sides and serve them with your Crockpot mac and cheese. There's nothing better with salmon cakes than good old macaroni and cheese. Then you can put yourself together a salad and you've got a complete meal. So I hope that you will not just say ew to the canned salmon. You really should try this recipe. Again, salmon's not that expensive. It has a long shelf life, so it's just something that you can always have in your cupboard. And when you need a quick meal, because this did not take very long to put together, it's both quick, it's easy, and it is really delicious, and it's very healthy for you. So I hope that you will try it.